CCP's Deception of the World.
Hello everyone, it's Michael here. Our program Deception of the World systematically exposes the CCP's history of deception and murder through presenting real historical events and truly influential people. The 30,000 children who lost their parents' homes in the brutal war were saved and grew up to be successful. It is no wonder that these children all affectionately call Soong Mei-ling Mother Jiang. Let's briefly describe the measures taken by the national government to provide relief to children, or for short, the National Seven Rules. You can compare it to how the communist state has been treating the everyday people in mainland China, also known as the Chinese leak descendants, for over 70 years. The national government defines a child as a fetus, an infant, or even a young child under 12 years of age who is unable to survive on his or her own. In July 1938, the first Congress of the National Council of Government had two motions concerning children, namely, to request the central government to order all provinces, cities and counties to set up additional orphanages for the children of fallen soldiers and refugee children from all over the country to be raised. And to request the central government to set up a national refugee children's relief organization for the period of war of resistance and the establishment of the country to consolidate the foundation of the country for the sake of the coordination. On September 7, 1937, the Executive Yuan adopted the outline of measures for the relief of refugees in extraordinary periods and decided to establish the Extraordinary Refugee Relief Committee with a general committee in Nanjing, branches in each province and municipality directly under the central government, and branch committees in each county and city. For children who had lost their parents and were displaced, the Executive Yuan set up the Shanghai War Zone Children's Shelter in Shanghai, which soon took in more than 1,000 refugee children. The Shanghai War Zone Infant Shelter was established afterwards and took in more than 100 infants whose parents had both died. In March 1938, the Ministry of Education promulgated 15 temporary measures for war zone children's education groups, and war zone children's education groups were quickly set up in all countries of the Japanese-dominated areas. The national government encouraged civil society to participate in the protection of children. Soong Mei-ling and others initiated the establishment of the Wartime Child Care Association in Hankow. After the national government moved to Chongqing in 1938, the Chongqing Children's Upbringing Institution was established to nurture displaced children and orphans of fallen soldiers, and to serve as a model for children's upbringing institutions nationwide. The Jinji Committee became the grand nanny of the refugee children. The national government ordered that in addition to the establishment of children's upbringing institutions by the central government and the provinces and cities, it also required all county orphanages or nurseries to be improved within children's upbringing institution or childcare centres. The national government has enacted laws and regulations to protect the interests of children. For example, Articles 1077, 1084 and 1142 of the Civil Code are for the protection and upbringing of children, and Articles 270 and 288 to 294 of the Penal Code are for the punishment of abortion, infanticide or abandonment. Look at the national government's protection of children compared to the communist birth control, forced birth, brutalization of children and adults. The good and bad policies were clearly distinguished. A refugee child named Yao Yulin, who later went to the United States, wrote an article entitled Mother Jiang's Children. According to the article, after the establishment of the temporary nursery in Hankow, 16,000 displaced refugee children from the war zone were successively admitted and then sent in 28 batches, first to Yichang, then by boat to Wanshou Palace in Chongqing, and then distributed to nurseries all over Sichuan. Yao Yulin and his 10-year-old sister were the 16th group to arrive at Wanshou Palace in Chongqing. After that, they went to the third nursery in Sichuan. He recalls that life in the third nursery was good, with new clothes to wear, 4 dishes for all 3 meals, and music. But by the 4th year of the war, the nursery was merged with the 6th nursery in Zigong because living costs had risen and the national government had no time to care. Yao Yulin grew up and became a chief resident in the Department of Internal Medicine at the Taipei Air Force General Hospital. In 1960, when Soong Mei-ling came to the General Hospital to work with the military, Yao finally got to meet her. In 1979, when Yao Yulin was practicing medicine in New York, Soong Mei-ling called for relief for Vietnamese refugees in New York, so Yao Yulin responded positively and submitted an article to the newspaper saying that he was a refugee child rescued by Madame Chiang in Hankow 41 years ago and wanted to return the favour. When Mrs. Chiang died in 2003, Yao Yulin, who was not invited to the funeral service, made a special trip to attend the memorial service and was allowed to attend as a representative of the Wartime Child Care Center to say goodbye to Mrs. Chiang. It is worth noting that Yao Yulin's article also mentions one more thing. Among the 370 nursery students in the Yan'an Nursery School in northern Shaanxi province, there was Li Peng, the former premier of the Communist State Council, while many of the other nursery students were fought over by the Red Guards during the Cultural Revolution, saying that they were spies left behind by Soong Mei-ling. These people were saved by Mrs. Chiang, but later the situation changed and resulted in them having a hard time living under the CCP government. Wasn't this a good thing turned into a bad thing? How did this come to be? It turns out that in July 1938, the General Association for Wartime Child Care also set up a nursery in Yan'an, which is not surprising, as the CCP's army was supposed to listen to the leadership of Chairman Chiang. Chiang also integrated the communist troops who expressed their desire to resist Japan in the 8th Route Army and the new 4th Army, and issued military supplies and food, hoping that the Communist Party would be united. Mrs. Chiang then also built the Yan'an Nursery. The main responsibility was to receive the children and orphans of the Communist Party and the Communist Army, and the cost was also allocated by the General Assembly. According to incomplete statistics, the second generation of Reds who lived in the Yan'an Nursery included Li Peng, son of Li Shuoxun. Ironically, Li Peng's father was the secretary of the military committee of the Communist Party's Guangdong Provincial Committee and was based in Hong Kong. On July 7, 1931, he went to Hainan Islands to preside over a military conference, which was definitely to incite subversion. Once on the island, he was arrested by the government. On September 16 in Haikou City, he was executed as a bandit leader, and Li Peng became a lost father. There are also the following: Li Weihan's son Li Tieying, Liu Shaoqi's daughter Liu Aiqin, Deng Xiaoping's daughter Deng Ling, Liu Bocheng's son Liu Taixing, Zuo Qian's daughter Zuo Taibei, Luo Ruiqing's son Luo Arrow, Xu Haidong's daughter Xu Wenhui, Ren Bishi's daughter Ren Yuanfeng, Luo Yinong's son Luo Northwest, Peng Pei's son Peng Shilu, Yang Yong's son Yang Xiaoping, and so on. This is the reason why Deng Yingchao, as we said earlier, was still praising Mrs. Chiang in 1988, which is politically incorrect to the extreme, but Mrs. Chiang's rescue of refugee children is concerned about the children rather than their parents. Mrs. Chiang's kindness to the CCP's second red generation was so great. If Deng Yingchao did not compliment her, is she still a person? According to this, it is no wonder that Li Peng later denied the rumors in his autobiography and did not admit that he was the adopted son of Zhou Enlai and Deng Yingchao. The mother Jiang should be his godmother, even if he did not dare to kneel to acknowledge his relatives. The reality is also clear in his own mind. From the previous list we mentioned, you can see how many children of the enemy Mrs. Chiang rescued later, but it's ridiculous that in the Communist Party's historical accounts, there is no mention of the general background of the establishment of the Yan'an Nursery, and certainly no mention of Mrs. Chiang's contribution. The public statement is that the institution was established by progressive people, social groups, and the government of the Sha'an-Gan-Ning border region. Don't you think the CCP's official announcement is shameless? As the saying goes, the wind and clouds are unpredictable, and fate is unpredictable. The fate of these second-generation Reds, who lived in the Yan'an Nursery during the Cultural Revolution, is closely related to the fate of their fathers. When Liu Shaoqi was beaten down, his daughter Liu Aiqin was expelled from the party, dismissed from public office, and sent to the countryside for labor reform, and her husband divorced her. When Deng Xiaoping was beaten down, his daughter Deng Ling was told not to go home, not to talk nonsense, and was later sent to Xianhua in Hebei for labor reform. Luo Ruiqing was beaten down, and his eldest son Luo Jian was beaten as a gangster's child. The fate of the second generation of Red Guards in the nursery was such that the fate of other nursery students raised in the nursery could not be better if they chose to stay on the mainland. Yao Yulin said that they were seized and fought, and that the Red Guards charged them with being spies left behind by Soong Mei-ling, which should not have been made up out of nothing. Unfortunately, the historical data is limited, and we have not found more material on this. Therefore, we cannot know further about how many of the 30,000 orphans were persecuted by the Chinese Communist Party's successive campaigns. We welcome parties involved and those who have further information to leave a message. That's the end of our story. We all remember how grateful the Jewish orphans of Nazi Auschwitz were to the US and peace-loving forces around the world after they were rescued by the US military. But that was in the civilized world. The CCP's evil power is an alternative. There is such a thing as a reflector to decipher how the orphans of war faced countless tortures of purgatory and silence under communist rule. In August 2006, the Wartime Nursery celebrated its 68th anniversary with a speech by Miss Fang Zhiyi, Soong Mei-ling's grandson-in-law. There was a poignant scene. Sitting on the stage, Miss Fang asked the hundreds of orphans, "Do you remember when Mrs. Chung was in Chongqing? She came to the nursery every day to eat with you." She asked the question 2 or 3 times, but no one nodded or shook their heads. What does it mean when they neither deny or affirm? It only shows that in their hearts, they still have lingering fears about the persecution they once suffered. If they nod their heads and admit it, they may worry that they will call the communists to kill them again. If they shake their heads, their conscience as human beings will not allow them to deny what Soong Mei-ling and Zheng's mother did for them over 60 years ago. What a painful internal struggle for them, and what a stinging heart for outsiders. So, the venue was deathly silent, and no sound was better than a sound. Thank you for watching our show. You are welcome to leave your comments and share with your family and friends. See you in the next episode.